All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome on back here this Thursday afternoon, December 8th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Robert clocking out on a trade on the stock rent, number 2% gainer right now. Great to see Robert. Great to see Jeff. All of us just perhaps rejoining us live inside our trading room. Nicholas, Leda, and Michael included. Great to see all of you. Great to see all of you back on social media as well, Facebook Live or YouTube. So, folks, I'll tell you what, market right now just kind of snapped back down. It was actually looking good just up until like 1:30. I don't know what news came out. I didn't really see any like big news headline that came out. I think there was something this morning about like Putin thinking that the probability of nuclear war is going to increase, whatever. Hey, looks like a headline that came out at 1:30. U.S. House of Representatives backs record $858 billion defense authorization bill. Voting continues. I don't know the first thing about it, folks. Don't come to me for that. Come to me for the reaction after within the market, right? So, hey, the SPY ended up trying to break the highs. It did not. It didn't even false break it. It just held perfect. And then we had that news headline come out and a bit of a negative reaction coming out so far within the market, snapping back down for right now, back to support, at least on the intraday. So we'll see if there's anything that can make a strong move with the market, whether we get the bounce up or if this flips now into resistance and the SPY drops back down lower into the close. Could be a couple good shorts out there. Hey, Rod, inside our live trading room, one of our longtime students, says a nice bounce on GameStop, GME. We'll get to that, I'm sure, in a moment. For right now, though, of course, you knew I'd have to start with the stock, folks. The PHVS, twisting my tongue there. Are you kidding me? This thing, ended up topping off just a little underneath 12. But, when the news came out this morning for this stock, we were not expecting this to make the run that it had made, especially in the time slot that it made it. Like, this really pumped up during crap time of the day, late morning, really more the early afternoon, if anything, after 12 o'clock Eastern time. So, hey, we had our eyes on this stock for a long while this morning as it was pretty active throughout pre-market. Some news came out on this trade in relation to phase 2 data. Its top line phase 2 data met primary endpoint, met secondary endpoint. All right, that's a great sounding headline, but it's not always the case that you end up getting that big explosion at all. And then otherwise, since this made the pop, it's not as often that you get it like crap time during the day, 12 o'clock, 12:30 onwards. So I was on a coaching call with one of our students, Glenn, and hey, when this popped and got halted going up, there's a chance for us to try and get in. But after it had bounced off of like $7 at the time, it was just consolidating. It was already up that much percentage-wise at that time of the day where I told Glenn, I'm like, you know what, honestly, if this does pump up later, maybe if I'm there for the taking on it, there could be a really good opportunity for us to jump in. But if this goes without me, folks, I'm going to play to the probabilities. We had a really good morning today, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But we could also have a really good afternoon coming up at 3 p.m. Eastern going into the close. So for this to make the pop that it made, hey, if you were able to jump in and out and get some money on it, congratulations. Hey, you were there to take it. But for those that didn't jump in, for those that were hesitant to jump in, like I was, it's okay. Other fish in the sea out there to catch. We're going to catch another stock that's up 300+%. I'm sure if not tomorrow to wrap up the week, then I'm sure sometime next week we'll get another one, right? Andre, he was in from the pre-market at 367, out with $1 profit, got out at 467, right? So, hey, this ended up running away afterwards. There's always going to be another runner, folks. What we teach you to do inside our live trading room, and really more so in our classes. I think Andre is just a member to our trading room right now. Not sure if he has access to the phase 1, 2, or 3 classes, but we don't teach you to step away from your desk and just hope and hold, right? Hey, that's like strictly gambling, right? So, if you got to step away, you got to step away. Take the money and run. Hey, you missed out on this pop. We're going to catch another pop, if not later today, then tomorrow, if not tomorrow, next week. All right. So, hey, if you left money on the table on it, the best thing that you could do is, hey, if you have Bookmap, go back on this trade, go back on the level 3 and level 4 mainly, and study it. Why did this make the exact movement that it made? The more that you can kind of put pen to paper and say, oh, okay, that makes sense there. Well, then it's easier for you to react the next time. Right? So PHVS, I was reluctant to trade the stock more than anything because, well, we've never really traded this symbol before. This stock trades like 50,000, 40,000 shares per day on average. That goes to show we don't trade this stock, folks. So it made a nice move. Hey, hopefully it ends up making another squeeze up into the close. I'll put this on our watch list at least to start, but I hope that there's easier trades than this, from this point forward. I think this will be a choppier trade, if anything. All right, so Rent, RENT. Rent the Runway. I'm not sure what the company does, at least. Ended up leading to a big squeeze up earlier this morning, really nonstop throughout the day. I was watching this also at the same time with my student Glenn, and this one we avoided. We just thought, hey, it was just moving up too swiftly. There wasn't really any significant pullback on the trade, and thankfully we avoided it. It ran up maybe like 8 or 9 cents after, but ended up pulling back, and it led to a great entry off of 210. Ended up, flipping resistance here into a bit of a support, and it led to the next leg up. So really good trade just a moment ago, like continuated trade on the Rent. And for right now, this still technically, you could say, is in the building of another higher low. So for right now, I'll put this on our list still. Hopefully it bottoms out really right around this area and begins to squeeze back up again. But my focus today, really from the early morning and then heading into the early afternoon, was off the Express trade, EXPR. It's one that personally I'm pretty familiar with, just back from the meme stock run that we had back in 2020. 2021, lose track of my years, but from that pop, I mean, we were pretty familiar with the stock back then. So right now, live, I mean, I ended up setting a couple of different fib levels up. So one that I'm following is pretty much where it's at right now. I was calling it out inside our live trading room, looking for this to hold off support at 181. So I wrote that a little bit earlier at 2:08 Eastern time. If you just check the timestamp there. Hey, why I bring that up is because, well, it just broke back over 181, right? Just broke back through that level on the way up. So this could be the moment where we see this make this, next leg back up towards the highs. I don't mind putting this back on our list for right now. Pretty low risk, and certainly so long as it just, holds above this going forward. All right, we had a GameStop pop that Ron called out. I'll jump to that, like I'd said, in just a bit. Bivi, BIVI stock from yesterday that came out, some news. It got halted on the way up, right? Ended up breaking back above big resistance at the time, and that was like pretty much instantly upon the market open, it seems, but ended up just flipping 6 right away and popped above it. So led to a nice push up towards the highs here off of 849, 850. Right now, though, if we're just kind of comparing apples to oranges, so to say, this doesn't look as appealing right now as like Rent does, or Express even, or PHVS, crazy one. But this one's just too thin of an order book, and it's going nowhere. So I'll definitely pass on this trade. Oh, Momo! Wow, I missed out on this run from 670 up over 7. Wow, just caught back to this one right now. So Momo, I was watching this also with my student Frank earlier this morning, as well as Glenn. I think we were watching this as well, Glenn. We were looking for this to re-break above resistance off of 7. It just held under the level perfect, no entry, and from that point dropped off. So here it ran back up. It actually broke back over 7, but pulled back. Hey, I'll say it right now, like I told Glenn on our coaching call, the more times this could needle resistance off that 7 level, it should lead to the higher high, the pop. So the fact that it's still sticking around here right now, better now than never, right? This could be really a good point should this re-break above $7. Familiar runner. I mean, this weekly chart looks crazy. Sober. We ended up trading Sober back over the last few months, if anything. Last, couple months back from late September time. Had a really nice push on it back then from $1 up towards as high as 4 over a span of weeks. But, right now in the intraday, making a nice, slow, steady move up. It's hard to ignore this trade stock. It's hard to ignore this stock, folks. This stock is one that we're familiar with. It's cheap, liquid order book. So for right now, I'll put this on the back end here. Tor, same deal. This one's pushing up to a stack of iceberg orders, if anything. This thing is really liquid. Actually, if anything, these aren't really too big in relation to what's up top here at 239. this truly is your resistance on this trade. Tor, man, this thing's had a huge pump day over day, really from the beginning of this week or end of last. But yeah, very, very much the same deal with this as we just mentioned for Sober. Cheap, liquid, at the highs, pushing up here pretty well. All right, we'll keep it going. Geez, are we going to find like a litany of different stocks that are like at the highs right now? I haven't checked in on the EH trade yet, NIU. None of these looking too tempting just yet. LU at the highs, but pretty slow. It's all right. HUYA. So a couple of these Chinese stocks pulling back a little bit right now, making lower highs, if anything. IQ, the HUYA trade. I'm sure we'll run into XPEV and NEO and all those in a moment. Here's Ron's GameStop for right now. Yeah, it's at the highs. I mean, it's up over or near 12% at the highs right now. Pretty funny that AMC is doing squat right now. This thing is doing nothing. Normally, if GameStop was pumping up like this and, hey, Express is still in play, you'd figure that AMC would be a lot better looking than this. Don't get stuck on AMC. For right now, though, we'll give a little love to this GameStop trade. Good call from Ron. If AMC ends up exploding or making a big pop, then at that point we'll call it out. But if you were hoping for AMC to pump up today, then you've been waiting way too long, right? So for right now, we'll pass on this. We'll check out Bobby J, which right now you could tell big pop, at least recently. It's only up over 1% from yesterday's close, but this is something I respect a little bit more versus the AMC trade, at least, right? There's certainly a little activity on this Bobby J. For right now, though, even I think Express could be the better of those three out of all of those meme stocks moving with GameStop. All right. Yin, Chinese ETF. I always like checking this out because, this could be a good indicator, so to say, for other, China stocks that we tend to trade. So this is actually storming back on up here the last few minutes. XPEV, slow crawl back up right now. NEO, Lee, same deal. Not a whole lot of traction on those right now. So for right now, I'll pass. All right, let's hop over to the loser side right now then, folks. For my 3 o'clock Mike, I sent him the coaching link just a little bit earlier, so just check your inbox, Mike. Much appreciated there. Look forward to meeting you there. But we have the EIGR stock right now topping off the loser side. Geez, this thing got clobbered, down nearly 70% right now, and certainly a lot more beforehand earlier this morning. So this actually has been dead cat bouncing at least since the mid-morning, early to mid-morning, pushing on up towards that 120 level here pretty nicely. So you know what? I'll put this on our list. It looks like a slow, flat stock here, zoomed out, zoomed in. Looks pretty good. EIGR. RLMD, not so much. Obviously, a lot more flat right now here. RXT, same thing. All right, bunch of other stuff, hard to borrow otherwise, so we kind of just, gloss over those, skip over those, if anything. Folks, if there's anything looking good, let me know. Market's just been kind of in this range really since, so nothing really that stands out on the loser side or the gainer side, really. Express right now testing 185, so that's been pushing back up really well off that 181. Let me ask for any of our members inside our live trading room, Andre, Ron, Joan, or Michael, or Leda, anyone jump in on that Express, EXPR, off that 181. Not out of the doghouse yet, as I like to say, but off to a good start. You got the VWAP there at 87 you got to worry about. Any takers on this one? Michael on Stitch Fix, he's saying slow mover, up over 6%. Ended up making the pump earlier, so if it had better traction right now at this time, I would put it on our list, but kind of just a side list stock. All right, folks, for all of us on social media, Facebook Live, YouTube, last call. Let me know if there's anything else that you see, just otherwise. From John, in with me on the Express trade. Very nice. 10-cent stop. That's a little steep for a dollar trade there. I'd cut that stop pretty tight, but 181's the level. If it holds 81, we're looking good. All right, so let's see what else we got here, folks. Anything lastly before we wrap up? API, nah, it's not looking good. AVCT from pre-market, I had this on my side list early, but this hasn't gone anywhere since, so we're going to pass on this as well. All right, slow and steady, she wins the race at least. So, hey, if it's on Stitch Fix, great. But Express, I want to see this hold off this 181 and push back up and over the VWAP, test up towards 2 perhaps by the end of the day. That would be really perfect. But otherwise, folks, we have a good list all together here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different stocks to work with at this point. I'll be on a coaching call with one of our students up until 3:30. So if there's anything that I see otherwise outside this list, I'll type it in the chat board. But otherwise, I'm going to start probably on the rent trade and the Momo, at least mainly from the watch list that I'm going to put out here. We'll focus on that to begin, and then we'll go from there. For all of us on social media, Facebook Live and YouTube, enjoy the rest of the day today. Any questions that you have, I always like to post my email here at the end, josh@ctutrading.com. But otherwise, though, if you wanted to join our live trading room, just whether it be later today, tomorrow, or for next week, you can just call our office to set your trial to begin for next week on Monday. Just go right down to the link on the banner below in yellow just to get yourself started. But for Michael, John, Ron, Leda, and all of us just there inside the live trading room, I'll be in the chat board, and Rich will be on the mic coming up at 3 p.m. Take care.
Become a Cyber Group member today. Just click the link below and receive all these amazing products and a world of knowledge for just $9.